Welcome to the Social Impact Level Up podcast. This is where we blur the lines between business, nonprofit, and impact. I'm your host, Wendie V, and in season 3, we're redefining success for social entrepreneurs looking to grow their revenue. If you have reality-changing ideas, this is the place for you. Let's jump right into today's episode. As a woman, how do you know how to sell? We're often taught that we're not really supposed to be very showy or selly. That's why I brought my friend Jean Wright onto the podcast so she can tell us exactly what her tips are and how us as women can show up as better salespeople. So thank you, Jean, for being here. And our first question for you is, who are you and how do you make a difference?
Hi, Wendie. Thank you for having me today. I'm really excited to be here. Who am I and how do I make a difference? I am a sales confidence builder. That's what I've determined my newest role in life is, because I had a varied career in sales for many years and I really enjoyed it. I love to sell. I love to get to know people. I love to help them solve their problem. I love to continue to give them good customer service because after the sale, it's really important. And then I realized after kind of coming towards the end of my sales career that talking to other women about their businesses, especially if they're entrepreneurs and they have their own business to run, they're really nervous about selling. They don't like it. I like it, but my goodness, there's a lot more fear out there. So I started with writing a book, Selling Your Confidence. And I realized, how do I start this story about where I got the sales bug, so to speak? Because it was really when I was selling Girl Scout cookies. Because throughout my life, my mother kept saying, I can't believe you're doing all this sales work and you're so successful. And I didn't even want you to sell cookies. So I thought, what a great way to start off my story. Because I thought, I'm going to write a story about how my sales career kind of started and bloomed and how I took it into different directions. And how can I help women with a similar experience to maybe see how they can handle it better, or maybe they're really good at it and they don't realize it. So selling the cookies was a very common denominator, I think. And I still talk to women now who say, I never liked selling those. That wasn't my thing. But even today, when I see, and I think the cookie sales have started or they are starting now, I get really excited when I see those girls at the tables, especially where they're, set up near a store or whatever. And they're so excited. It's that newness to the selling that they love. They don't understand that their love for their product is really helping to sell what they have to offer. And if we could just bottle that up and use that as we get older, because we gather baggage along the way about our experiences with salespeople. But if we could just keep that excitement about the product and how they do it, wouldn't it be great if we could transfer that into what we're doing with our own business? So I wanted to help women. Yeah. I want to help you understand you can use your authentic self to make this happen.
Oh my gosh, all of that. Like there's so many things to unpack in that one statement, but I wanted to start with that I was a Girl Scout for a smidgen of time, and maybe I should have stayed in long enough to sell the cookies so that I would have no fear of sales, right? And I really only got the experience of going camping for the first time, but I am a lifelong camper. So maybe my Girl Scout takeaway was about camping and not sales.
Mine was the opposite. Camping, it was a great experience, but I do not camp as an adult because it's just not my thing. So I had the opposite with the cookies was mine and camping was yours. And that's a great opportunity that you wouldn't normally have if your family doesn't do that. So
yeah, no,
I was
not as
happy to be exposed to that.
A kid growing up in inner city LA, absolutely not. Like we were, they camped before I was born, but then they somehow decided to stop when I was born. So I had to go camping with the Girl Scouts for the first time. So anyway, so let's get back to this idea of women being fearful. I think, maybe there are men too who fear sales. I think a lot of us, like you said, have had negative experiences with salespeople. So that might flavor if you go into entrepreneurship, it's not your, or you didn't have a prior sales role.
and this is the first time you're selling, I mean, yeah, it's kind of scary to ask people for money or suggest that I do something for you and you pay me for that. And so where do you think that fear comes from? Like what is the fear about?
Well, it's the word sales and salesperson, and it's really when I talk to women, it is about them having that experience, usually with a man on the other side, feeling like they're being aggressive with them in making a decision, or they know more than you do. So they're going to inform you that this is the decision you need to make. We get that buyer's remorse after we make the decision and say, should I have done that? Did they convince me to do something I didn't really want to do? It's really unfortunate that our culture has this stereotype about the used car salesman kind of thing, or you go and buy a big ticket item and you may not be as familiar with all the details about what you're getting and you rely on somebody else, but then you feel like they're forcing you to do something that maybe you're not ready to do. So it's the word sales that scares women. I am not a salesperson. They will say, I will. And a minute before, they're talking excitedly to their friend about this wonderful product they just tried, and they need to try it because it's going to help them. So let's take our emotion that we have about what we love and transfer that. Forget that salesperson image. Don't call yourself a salesperson if it doesn't make you feel comfortable because of what the baggage is that we have of our experience. So let's recreate it and use our emotion and our intelligence about how we want to help people to really want to sell to them. But don't call it sales if that's really, then you'll once you get past that sales thing, understand that you're helping people.
Want to amplify your impact today? Join my community, the Social Impact Level Up Collective, where social entrepreneurs just like you meet monthly to inspire world-changing ideas. You'll get access to my top courses and resources, speakers, and exclusive community events. Hop in right now at wendievelos.com/collective.
Yeah. And it's really about serving more people. I mean, the more you sell, the more you serve, the more people can help. So, or whatever it is that you're selling, more products that people benefit from. And it is interesting because you have to reframe for yourself that it's about the output, the outcome, what the transformation for, your clients. And so it's to your benefit to sell them something that they can benefit from, right? So it's kind of an interesting way to think about it, because I think initially the fear, at least for me, was, well, I don't know how they benefit, or I don't know if they will benefit, right? I mean, I'm sure we all have gifts and talents that people can benefit from, but is it a fair price to charge them for that benefit? So there were so many, I think, self-doubting questions and so many, no, who's answering these for me? Because it was really about me having to get over fears to answer them for myself. But I don't know what you think about that part of it.
Well, you mentioned something about charging people for your services. And let's just say this, we have experience in our lives, personal experience and experience we've had in jobs. And so why isn't that worth something? When you write a book or like all of a sudden you become the expert. Well, you took the time to really evaluate your topic and explain it to people. And yes, actually, you are an expert about what you wrote. And is it worth something? Yes, sure. It definitely is worth something. And I think a lot of times, maybe when we're growing up, we don't feel like there's value in what we know. What can we give to other people? And sometimes we underestimate that value and we don't charge enough for our product or service, because a lot of women now are going into their own businesses because they've been in the corporate world. They have worked for somebody else for a long time. They have gained so much knowledge about what it is they're good at. And now they want to do it on their own and be their own boss. And now they have to charge. And guess what? You charge what you're worth and the value. You have to determine how much time you've put into it, how much you would be paid if you were working for somebody else. And then, by the way, now you're on your own. So you probably want to support yourself even a little bit better and pay really what you think. Because we're always unhappy with maybe small increases in pay. We always feel like, oh, why didn't I get a bigger raise? Why didn't I do? Because you know what you know, and you know how much you're worth. So take that advantage of that opportunity and ask for it. And don't do things for free. A lot of times you feel like, well, let them try it. Let them see how they like what I have, or they discount it tremendously just so that the person will say yes. But then how much is your product really worth at that point?
Oh my God, so many good points. Because I think the imposter syndrome, the worthiness issues, those come into things like pricing, like you're mentioning. And then the other thing you jogged my memory about is just how many people are struggling to say, I want to give up the golden handcuffs of this job to explore entrepreneurship. But your point about, well, you could pay yourself more if you were able to make more in your business, it makes total sense, right? Like we should be logically thinking, I'm not giving up the golden handcuffs to put even more restrictive handcuffs on myself. Like that's not what I want. So I like this idea of really being confident, like what you're talking about in your book, like having a confidence to your sales approach. But how do you move from a fear-based mindset to a confident mindset?
So when I coach women about their fears, I really have to ask them to dig deep and think about who supports you, people around you that know you can do. If you say, I'm starting a new business, and you have your raving fans around you saying, hey, you're great at this. That's such a great way to get your message out and start your business because you're really good at it. Because sometimes people just don't tell you you're really good at something until you make the announcement that I am going to start this, I'm going to do this. And get the support of people around you to give you that rah. It helps build your confidence. And think about what it is that you're trying to do for others so that it becomes part of you and you're authentic about it. And a lot of times we think, well, I have to sell, so I have to do all these processes. I have to know how to prospect. Have to know how to make the appointment. I know how to make the presentation. Then I have to negotiate and close the deal, and then all these things. And those are all important aspects of a sales process. And it's good to know what those are, but you need to insert yourself into it being your presentation and not somebody may be sitting behind the desk on the other side of you and they're saying, oh gosh, now she's going in for this. Oh, now I know, because all those formulas you're following, and it's not really you speaking, it's the formulas that you're following. You know what you're supposed to do in a sales situation, but you're not making it sound like it's not you. You just want them to feel comfortable with the building of the relationship that you're doing, listening to the other person, and, really getting to know why they're there for you. They're there for a reason because they need you for something. And it's what you have to give them that they want. But really, they're buying it because of you, because they know you're going to take care of them. The product is great, but honestly, it's you that they like. It's you that is going to make sure they get what they need. And you're going to follow up and be with them every step of the way. Isn't that how you want to be perceived? You want to be perceived as that person who's authentically wanting to help them get what they need. So you just have to kind of dig deep and say, how do I want to be perceived when I walk into the room? Do I want to be that person that helps people, or, oh, here she comes. She's going to sell me something. She's going to be really, tough with me and aggressive with me. And I don't think many of us are like that.
I try not to ever be like that, but I'm sure people know that I'm like, I can help you. It's a hard line, because you do want people to know what you do, and a 30-second a 30-second intro isn't always the best way to describe the benefit or the value that you provide, especially when people are like, well, how much are your hourly rates at a networking event, right? Like it's the worst.
You want to talk about that right then. That's the sale right there. Have the coffee afterwards. let them get to know you. And then they feel that once they hear everything you have to offer and how you're going to help them, how worth it is. So how do you want to be perceived is really important. And that's what I ask women when I talk to them one-on-one is, how do you want people to view you? How do you want to be known? What do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known that you're that person that is kind, or that person who is not going to be forceful in making you make a decision instead of helping you make a decision, I think is what I want. So it's all about who you want to be and how you want to present yourself.
And I think sometimes you have to dig deep in your history to understand what those answers are for each person. It's different. Yeah. And I know for me, the word comes up as fun because I was told early in my social work career by one of my supervisors that I wasn't allowed to have fun, that wasn't my role in work. But I was a play therapist. So like, if you're not genuinely having fun, a kid can notice, you got to have fun with a kid. But you also can do it in a therapeutic way. And I think that that's one of the values that I like to provide to my clients is, yes, we can still have fun and work. There's no reason why as adults we can't have fun.
I agree.
And so I think, anything I do, I try to bring those values to it. And so I appreciate what you're saying is, trying to be your authentic self all the time does take a bit of self-work for you to get to the point of understanding, well, who is that person? And how can I not only think of what I want others to perceive myself as, but do I perceive myself as that person?
Exactly. You don't want to portray somebody that you're really not. And that's where that sales fear comes in, because they think they have to portray some type of person that is not them, because that's what sales is to them. But if they change their mindset about it being you and your authenticity and your confidence, and sometimes it even just takes how you're dressing, how you look. I've had women say, I go to a networking event or I have this small group of people I meet with, and they don't seem to give me much credit for anything. They don't seem to respect me very much. And as I'm talking to them, I kind of look at what their presentation is for me, and it's not really professional. And it doesn't speak to me about who they are. They didn't take the time for women, I'm sorry, you need to wash your hair, or you need to look presentable and represent yourself as well as your services all the time. When you're in a professional environment, whether it's with a coach, whether it's with a person who you're working with to, a peer, or somebody that you're selling to, please look the part so that first impression will give you a lot more credibility just from the very start. And then your confidence will start working for itself because you feel good about yourself. I mean, as much as even wearing high heels when you're doing a presentation. I mean, I've talked to women who have said, I feel so much better when I have high heels on and I just feel like I'm commanding the room. This is like a speaker who I told me this once. That's one thing that gave her empowerment, or feeling of empowerment. She felt better about herself because she was a little bit taller, a little bit. It was just her thing, or whatever it is that helps you feel more confident about yourself from the inside. You can be listening to some motivational speaker before you go into a meeting, or some really great music that might help you feel more confident because it's something that is empowering to you, in addition to how you look, but inside and outside.
It's hard being a woman. And, you can't even write off all of these beauty products that you need to slap on your face to feel confident on a podcast, right? So you're like, great. None of this costs is a business expense, but it's all a business expense.
The lipstick for Zoom calls, or anything. It makes a big difference, doesn't it?
This costs money and this is for business. I'm doing business right now. It's hilarious to me. I literally brought this up to another entrepreneur who was in marketing. I said, we have to go get our hair done, and I was also thinking about this in terms of content, right? Showing up confidently in content. I feel much more confident when I have my makeup on, my hair is done, I have clothes on that I feel respectable in. But I've also been told from other women, I'm glad that you show up in your stories in the beginning of the morning before you put any of that on, because it shows me that you're a real person. And so that the authenticity, so balancing those two is really difficult, I think, when it comes to your image, your brand, and your ability to sell that brand.
There are expectations. And I think for women, let's just face it, there are expectations about us and how we look. You watch women on television and you just, with high definition TV, you can see everything. Do the men care as much, or is there as much criticism about men as there are women? Not as much, because they get away with more, and we have those expectations, and it can work to our favor and not to our favor, depending on the circumstance. So I don't think you want to be overly made up, but you want to just have a nice look. I just think the colors that you wear, I try to do a branding color of this color and blue and white. And it comes through on my book, because I made sure that I did something that was more appealing to women, the pinks. I mean, why not? Why not use that? It works.
Yeah, I have a very women-friendly brand as well. And every time, even when I change my brand colors and the look of my brand, it's still very women-friendly. So it's, guys are like, whatever, I'll buy from you if I need to buy from you. Like they could care less if I have a magenta or a teal as my accent color, right? So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Getting back to our lipsticks. Now, I talked to some women in a roundtable situation last year who were not feeling confident about selling. And to kind of get them a little more relaxed, I asked them to pull out something out of their purse. And a lot of us, we have that lipstick, but why do we like this one? What is it about this one that is so good? What is the color? Is it the formula? Is it how we feel when we have it on? Is it the best ever? And so let's talk about it to our neighbor. And it wasn't necessarily lipstick, but it was whatever is in your purse that is something that's important to you, because you wouldn't be carrying it around. And, you can't believe how excited they were about telling about the product, about why they liked it, why they think somebody else should have it. So they're going over the features of it and then telling them the benefits of why it works for them and why the other person needs it. And I think it helped these women understand they're selling every day. They're selling the outfit they have on, they're selling what they're using. Don't we ask each other, boy, you really look great today. What's that eyeliner you're using? Or what, your hair color is great. I love your haircut. Who cuts your hair? Oh, she's wonderful, and that's how you refer people. And that's how but we're emotional. We love to tell people why we are happy about our products that we use. So think about that too, whenever you're talking to people. You don't want to overly gush about it, but you do want to remember there are features about everything that we're using, and the benefits are going to be great. You're going to be able to do this, this, and this because of that. So that's a good way to practice.
Yeah, I'm naturally a connector. I tell people I'm a connector, people, places, and things. So when folks say, I need a solution for XYZ, I'm like, oh, my tech stack has that. This is what I use. And it costs about this much money. But if you're a nonprofit, it's free, right? And so there's ways to, give people information. But I'm a walking commercial. Like, people know that. They can ask me where I buy pizza. And I'm like, oh my God, the best place ever. It's in Germantown. So yeah, I am very always excited about other people's businesses. Then people ask me what I do, and I'm like, well, and it becomes like slightly harder. You get this pause. You don't feel as, off the cuff about how you, make the best whatever. And, insert whatever you do.
Yeah. So here we go. That's the thing about the elevator pitch or the story about you and how do you want to represent yourself. Because a lot of times we're in a networking situation where you have 30 seconds to do, this is who I am. Or you have a minute or so to really expand on that. And this is what I do, and this is how I help people like you, and this is what I offer, instead of I do this, this, and this, and that's it. That's all you have time for. So you kind of have to have a plan for two different kinds of pitches. This is who I am, and this is how I help people pitch, because that's what really they want to hear. That's the important aspect of bringing them in to you. And then you find out more about them, why they think they need you. So do a lot of more listening too. After you give that little pitch, then make sure that you're listening to what their responses are and helping them. So we tend to talk more than we listen. So it's important to sit back and let them tell you more so that you can build that relationship.
Yeah, that whole like start the conversation, get interest, and then, wait back and see what their questions are so you can really focus on what are their needs versus just blah. This is what I do.
Yeah,
so I like that.
You don't really know that they need all that, what you just told them. But maybe you need it in the future, or maybe you know someone who needs that. And you mentioned before about being a connector. I think other people in business really appreciate that, because when you're in a situation where maybe you can't help somebody, or they tell you they really need this, thank you for telling me what you do. Do you know anybody that has this business or whatever? And you're in the same room and you see that person and you bring them together and you connect them. And now you've opened your circle and their circle. And now you have other people for them to talk to. And then you move on to another place, because now they're doing their thing and they're making their connection. But people love to be connected because people, and it's helpful for them they trust you when you introduce them to someone else. Well, if she likes this person or she knows them, I'm sure that they're good at what they do. And so let's get them together. And it may not be a sale for you, but it could be a sale for somebody else. But at least you've determined that.
Oh, and I had it come around for me because I had a leak recently in my house, and I was able to activate half of my chamber of commerce, was here in my house that day fixing things. I had plumbing, I had the disaster repair people, everybody's giving me top service. And it was because I had made those relationships that were not sales relationships, or referral relationships, like you mentioned, or just taking the time to know people and know what they did, and then being able to call and say, hi, it's me. And then I got a 10% discount for being at the chamber. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like being at this really exclusive club. And so I thought it was really neat to see that in action. Like, you put out in networking so much energy and trying to build that network. And then you're like, well, when is this going to come back around? And it's great when it comes back around, not in your business, but in your personal life, to save a problem. I think that was really good.
Yes. And then those little discounts. And I know sometimes those discounts will follow you around even after you've left the chamber or whatever, because they still value you and they want you to continue to refer them. And that's important to them that you're doing that. So they'll continue sometimes to even give you those discounts. So
yeah, relationships are so important in business. And that's how I met you, through a referral from a friend, to an introduction from a mutual friend, Rochelle. And so, it's always good to have just even the intros to more people to come and collaborate and be on a podcast with. So 2 final questions these are kind of our questions for the podcast, and thank you for this wonderful conversation about sales. It's been so good to gush on these things. So how have you, in your experience as an entrepreneur, had to redefine success for yourself?
So I started coaching women after I wrote my book. I thought, what can I do to help people? I really find I have a mission to help other people, help other women. I don't want it to be, I have to make this amount of money in order to recoup all what I've put into it. I don't look at it that way. I look at it more as, if there are other women who can say to me, Jean, you helped me so much. I have already taken a lot of those suggestions you've made to me, or tips that you've given me, or techniques that you've taught me to improve and look. And I've already seen changes or improvements in how I'm feeling. Now, that to me is success. That is, I love to continue working with them, but they'll work with me as long as they feel they need that help. But they're already taking it to a level that's changing their life. That's success to me. And I didn't even plan for this. I just found that there is a way to use my experience to help other women, starting with my book and then through coaching a one-on-one. So that's how I measure it. I've been very satisfied with how it's been going the past year with that success rate of their referrals to other people too.
Yeah. And it's also really good to hear people who are saying, yeah, I've worked myself out a job. I've done my work here. Like this is, I've coached you and it's not a codependent coaching situation.
Right.
We have graduated you to do on your own what we worked on, which I think is a really fantastic outcome.
Yeah. Especially if they start using those techniques right away, and they tell you that, it's like, wow, they really were listening and they really wanted the help, and they're feeling good about it. So yes, it is good. It's good feeling of success for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so last question for you, and then we'll wrap up and see where people can find you. But what do you do to maintain your own personal well-being so that you can continue to show up and serve all these amazing women and causes that you work on?
Well, a positive attitude is something I've always felt has been part of my personality, and it's helped me get through a lot of things in my life. I've had some health issues in the past 9 years, and I've come back from them, and it's been challenging, but you have to continue to look forward and try to overcome those challenges. It's not always easy, but having a positive attitude has really helped me in many ways. And recognizing that I have to have time for my personal things and put it on my calendar. Go to the gym, have time with my husband, do things that I know are important that I have to plan around, and also feel very fulfilled with the work I'm doing. So there is that balance. It's hard because at one time my work was overtaking my personal life, and that's what really caused some of my health issues. And sometimes we have to go through that to understand that you have to balance things out and close the book or close the laptop or do whatever, and just have that time for yourself to just kind of regroup a little bit. So that's really important to understand, is your time, personal time is so important.
Yeah, and having time where you're just not on the clock at all, and like no one can reach you for no reason.
And if you're your own boss, that's even better, because you don't have to answer to anybody but yourself. So unless you're hard on yourself, try to not to be so hard on yourself, because only you know if you didn't do something right. So don't worry about it. Nobody's going to come and bother you about it because you didn't get this done or that done, unless you really are on a deadline. We're on deadlines for things, but be easy on yourself.
I ask for grace with my clients all the time. I'm like, whoops, I forgot to send you that email that I promised you like 4 days ago. Sorry.
But at least you remembered.
I'm remembering right now. It's great. Yeah, people, I'm notorious for email being slightly late, but I think it's because I do value not being on email all the time. Like I do, stop and check it throughout the day, but I'm not sitting with my inbox open and answering as they come in. And so I think that people understand that, but that's how I work my email. So I might get back to you tomorrow in my next window of email, which is tomorrow. So it's been great to chat with you, Jean. Just tell us really quickly, where can people find you? Where do you hang out online, or do they go to your website? What is it that you want people to connect? If they resonated with this episode, where can they connect with you?
Okay, great. My website is sellingyourconfidence.com. There's actually links there to purchase my book, to set up a free chat. I offer 30 minutes. If you just want to talk about how you're feeling about selling, and if it's just something's holding you back, we can have a short chat about that. There is an opportunity for we can work together on specific issues that are holding you back in a coaching environment as well. But there are things that you can get just maybe in a quick talk, and I'm happy to do that. My book, as I said, you can get on Amazon, or there's a link for it on my website. But I do hang out on LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time, every day. I think I like talking to other people a lot more. I'm trying to post more of my own thoughts that I need to be putting out there. I know we all try to keep up with things. It's a lot of work to be on social media, but I have somebody now that's helping me a little bit more with that. So I do enjoy posting, and I do enjoy other people's about, their intellectual contributions, all the things that they do that are interesting to me. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy getting to know more people on LinkedIn. So that's where you can find me.
We're going to clip that part of the video for LinkedIn so that they know you did a little infomercial for them. I love it. All right, Jean. Well, it's been wonderful to chat with you. This has been an episode with Jean Wright, and we talked about all things sales and confidence for women. Excited to hear you could get her book on her website or on Amazon, and be back for another episode of the Social Impact Level Up podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Jean.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and we look forward to having you come back. If you're curious about something we shared, make sure you check in the show notes below. And do you want the secret to make your nonprofit or business more sustainable and more profitable? Hop into my Learn, Grow, Thrive University, where I give you exclusive access to resources, mini courses, and templates for free. All you need to do is sign up at wendyvelos.com/university. See you next episode.